My sister Dorothy sent a group text saying I was too broke to invite to her destination wedding, while I was literally boarding my private jet to prove her wrong. She had no idea I'd been quietly building an empire while she flaunted her husband's money like it was her own achievement. But here's what I want to know. What do you do when the person who's supposed to have your back becomes the one tearing you down? I'd love to know which corner of the globe you're watching from. And if this story speaks to you, make sure to subscribe. Tomorrow's video is one you absolutely can't miss. The notification lit up my phone screen while I was reviewing quarterly reports in my home office. It was a group text, one of those family threads that usually meant someone needed something or drama was brewing. Wedding update, everyone. We've finalized the guest list for Cancun. Some tough decisions had to be made about +1s and extended invites. I scrolled past it initially, assuming it was just logistics. Dorothy had been planning this destination wedding for 8 months, turning it into her entire personality. Every family dinner became a venue discussion. Every phone call included cake-flavor debates. I'd been supportive, even offering to help with costs, though she'd brushed me off saying her fiancé Marcus had everything handled. Then another text popped up. This one made my blood run cold. BTW, we're keeping it intimate. Samantha, I know you've been struggling financially, so we decided not to put that pressure on you. Destination weddings are expensive and we don't want you to feel obligated. Hope you understand. I read it 3 times, my jaw tightening with each pass. Struggling financially? I owned 2 successful tech startups, had investment properties across 3 states, and my personal net worth had just crossed 8 figures last quarter. But Dorothy didn't know any of that because I'd chosen to live quietly, without the Instagram flexing and constant status updates she thrived on. My mom jumped in immediately. Dorothy, that seems harsh. Samantha is your sister. Mom, I'm being realistic. She drives a 10-year-old Honda and lives in that tiny apartment. Cancun flights alone are $800, plus hotel, plus activities. I'm actually being considerate by not making her spend money she doesn't have. That tiny apartment? It was a penthouse loft in downtown Seattle that I'd bought cash 3 years ago. The building didn't have flashy signage, and I preferred it that way. The Honda, a 2015 Civic I kept because it was reliable and I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. I'd grown up watching people drown in debt trying to look wealthy, and I'd promised myself I'd never be that person. I'm doing her a favor. Last Christmas, she showed up in a Target dress while I was wearing Valentino. She can barely afford rent based on what I've heard. Marcus and I have worked hard for our lifestyle, and this wedding reflects that. We can't have people there who'll feel uncomfortable around our level of success. I stared at that message, my hands trembling. Her level of success? Marcus was a mid-level marketing manager. Dorothy worked part-time at a boutique. They were comfortable, sure, but they weren't exactly living the high life she portrayed online. Most of their luxury lifestyle was financed through credit cards and keeping up appearances. Meanwhile, I'd been grinding since I was 22. My first startup, a data analytics platform for small businesses, had been acquired by a Fortune 500 company when I was 26. I'd immediately rolled that money into my second venture, a cybersecurity firm that now served clients across North America. I worked 70-hour weeks, made sacrifices, and built something real. But I didn't post about it. I didn't need the validation. Wow, Dorothy, that's pretty cold. It's called being practical. Samantha has always been the struggling artist type, never really getting her life together. I love her, but let's be honest, she's not in a position to afford this kind of event. I'm saving her the embarrassment. Struggling artist type? I had dual degrees in computer science and business administration from Stanford. I'd never been an artist. She was literally making up a narrative to justify excluding me. My phone rang. It was my mom. Samantha, honey, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's gotten into her. It's fine, Mom, I said quietly, though it wasn't fine at all. It's not fine. She's being cruel. Should I talk to her? No, let me handle it. I ended the call and sat in silence, processing. This wasn't just about a wedding invitation. This was about years of Dorothy positioning herself as the successful sister, the one who made it, while quietly condescending to me at every family gathering. She'd introduce me as her little sister who's still finding her way, even though I was 31 years old. She'd make jokes about my simple lifestyle while flashing her designer bags. The truth was, Dorothy had always been insecure around me. Growing up, I'd been the one with straight A's, the scholarships, the academic awards. She'd been popular and social, which was great, but our parents had different expectations for us. Instead of finding her own path, she'd spent years trying to prove she was more successful than me by any metric she could control: appearance, social status, material possessions. And now she was uninviting me from her wedding based on assumptions that couldn't be more wrong. I looked at my calendar. The wedding was in 3 weeks, Cancun. She wanted to flaunt her success at a beach resort while excluding me because I didn't perform wealth the way she did. A plan began forming in my mind. I could correct her publicly in the group chat, send screenshots of my bank accounts, or forward her articles about my companies. But that felt petty and would just make her defensive. No, I needed to show her. Not to be vindictive, but because she needed to understand that success isn't about appearances. It's about substance. And maybe, just maybe, this could be the wake-up call she needed about what really matters in life. I opened my laptop and pulled up my travel arrangements. I had a business trip to Miami scheduled for the week of her wedding. The corporate jet was already reserved. Cancun was only a slight detour. I picked up my phone and texted my assistant. "Rebecca, slight change of plans for the Miami trip. I need to make a stop in Cancun first. Also, book the presidential suite at the Ritz-Carlton for 5 nights. The dates align with a family event I'll be attending." Her response came back in seconds. "On it. Should I arrange ground transportation?" "Yes, something noticeable." I sat back in my chair, a small smile crossing my face. Dorothy wanted to play games about who was successful? Fine. But she was about to learn that real wealth doesn't need to announce itself in group texts. It moves quietly, until it decides to make an entrance. The next morning, I woke up to 17 new messages in the family group chat. Most were from relatives awkwardly trying to change the subject, or pretending Dorothy's messages hadn't happened. My mom had stopped responding entirely, which meant she was probably on the phone venting to my dad. I made coffee and opened my laptop, getting back to what actually mattered: running my companies. My cybersecurity firm had a major presentation to a potential client in Miami, which is why the trip was already scheduled. The Cancun detour would add maybe 2 hours to the flight plan. Rebecca had already sent over the updated itinerary. The jet would depart Seattle at 6 a.m. on the Thursday before the wedding, stop in Cancun around noon, then continue to Miami on Sunday evening. Perfect timing to make an appearance at Dorothy's welcome dinner on Friday night. My phone buzzed. It was my best friend and business partner, Tyler. "Dude, your sister is unhinged. I saw the screenshots your mom sent my mom." I laughed despite myself. Our mothers had been friends for 30 years, which meant nothing stayed private in our extended network. "It's Dorothy being Dorothy," I replied. "You're still going though, right? Please tell me you're going." "Oh, I'm going." "Good. I want a full report. Better yet, take pictures of her face when you show up." I'm not trying to humiliate her, Tyler. Maybe not, but she needs a reality check. She's been acting like she's running a Fortune 500 company when she works 20 hours a week at a clothing store. He wasn't wrong, but it still felt complicated. Dorothy was my sister. We'd shared a bedroom until I was 12. She'd taught me how to do my makeup for prom. We'd had good times before her insecurity turned into this competitive monster. "I just want her to understand that wealth isn't about performance," I said. "Well, you're about to give her a masterclass. What's the plan?" I outlined my arrival strategy. Tyler was cackling by the time I finished. "You're diabolical." "I love it. Need a +1? You're supposed to be in Tokyo that week." "For you?" I'd reschedule. Tempting, but no. This is family business. After we hung up, I spent the afternoon coordinating details. Rebecca had booked the presidential suite. Oceanfront, 3 bedrooms, private terrace with an infinity pool. The rate was $4,500 per night, which Dorothy would probably consider a year's salary based on her assumptions about my finances. Ground transportation was where I'd had the most fun. Rebecca initially suggested a standard luxury car service, but I'd pushed for something more dramatic. We settled on a midnight blue Rolls-Royce Cullinan with a driver. Subtle enough not to be obnoxious, but impossible to miss. A lot of love and effort went into bringing this story to life. If you're enjoying it, we'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to our channel. Now back to where we left off. The group chat stayed active throughout the week. Dorothy kept posting updates about wedding preparations, seemingly oblivious to the tension she'd created. Or maybe she just didn't care. Final dress fitting today. Can't wait for you all to see it. Marcus spared no expense. The resort upgraded us to the beachfront ceremony location. Dreams really do come true when you work hard and marry the right person. Each message felt like a calculated jab, a reminder to everyone, especially me, about her supposed superior status. Aunt Linda tried to keep things civil by responding with generic enthusiasm, but I noticed several family members had gone silent. My dad called Wednesday evening. "Sam, your mother is worried about you." "I'm fine, Dad." Dorothy was out of line. Way out of line. "I know. You don't have to go to this wedding. No one would blame you," I smiled. My dad was protective, always had been. He'd worked 2 jobs to put me through college before my scholarships kicked in. He understood the value of hard work without the need for spectacle. "I want to go, Dad. She's my sister. And besides," I paused, considering how much to reveal, "I think it's time Dorothy and I had an honest conversation about some things. Just don't do anything you'll regret. I won't. Promise." Thursday morning arrived with clear skies. I packed light, a garment bag with 3 carefully selected outfits, toiletries, and my laptop. The jet was waiting at Boeing Field, a sleek Gulfstream G650 that my company co-owned with 2 other tech firms. We used it primarily for executive travel, but the shared ownership model made it cost-effective. The pilot, Captain Morrison, greeted me at the stairs. "Ms. Clark, good to see you." "We're fueled and ready for Cancun. Thanks, Captain. I appreciate the flexibility on the route change." "No problem at all. The weather looks perfect. Should be a smooth flight." I settled into the cream leather seat and opened my laptop. Even with the drama, I had work to do. Our cybersecurity firm was bidding on a contract with a major healthcare network, and the proposal needed final review before the Miami presentation. As we climbed to cruising altitude, I found myself reflecting on how different my life had become from what Dorothy imagined. She pictured me struggling, scraping by, probably eating ramen and worrying about bills. The reality? I had passive income streams that generated more monthly than most people made in a year. My investment portfolio was diverse and growing. I employed 43 people across my 2 companies. But none of that defined my worth as a person, which was the point Dorothy missed entirely. Somewhere over Texas, Rebecca sent a message. "The hotel confirmed your early check-in. Car service will meet you at FBO. Also, I took the liberty of booking you a spa appointment Friday morning. Figured you might want to relax before the evening events." I sent back a grateful emoji. Rebecca was the best. We landed in Cancun just after noon local time. The FBO, fixed base operator, the private terminal, was quiet and efficient. No security lines, no crowds, just a swift customs check and straight-to-ground transportation. The Rolls-Royce was waiting. Gleaming in the Mexican sun, the driver, a professional man in his 50s named Carlos, opened the door. "Welcome to Cancun, Ms. Clark, the Ritz-Carlton, correct?" "That's right." As we pulled away from the airport, my phone started buzzing. The family group chat was active again. "Landing in an hour. Can't believe it's finally happening!" "Everyone gets excited?" "Just checked into our room." "It's lovely, Dorothy." Traffic from the airport was brutal, but we made it. I watched the messages roll in, family members announcing their arrivals, sharing photos of their rooms and the resort grounds. Dorothy was responding to each one with excessive enthusiasm, playing the role of gracious bride. She had no idea I was already here. Carlos navigated through Cancun traffic with practiced ease, eventually turning onto the Palm Line Drive of the Ritz-Carlton. The property was stunning, White architecture, lush gardens, the Caribbean stretching endlessly beyond. Your luggage will be brought to your suite. Ms. Clark, the front desk manager said after a swift check-in, we've prepared everything according to your preferences. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to make your stay more comfortable. The presidential suite was on the top floor, accessible by private elevator. When the doors opened directly into the foyer, I had to admit, this was impressive even by my standards. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the ocean. The private terrace was larger than my first apartment, and every detail screamed understated luxury. I walked out onto the terrace, feeling the warm breeze, listening to the waves. Tomorrow night was the welcome dinner. Dorothy would be holding court, showing off, playing the part of the successful bride, and I would simply show up and exist in my truth. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. Landed yet? Just checked in. It's showtime tomorrow. Send pics or it didn't happen. I laughed and set my phone down. Below, I could see the resort's main pool area, families splashing and laughing, couples walking hand in hand along the beach. Somewhere in this resort, Dorothy was probably obsessing over last-minute details, completely unaware that her narrative was about to shift. I wasn't doing this for revenge. I was doing this because she needed to see that her assumptions about me, about success, about what matters, were fundamentally wrong. And sometimes, the best lessons come from the moments that shatter our carefully constructed illusions. Friday. Morning came with golden sunlight streaming through the suite windows. I'd slept better than expected. The sound of ocean waves creating a natural white noise that drowned out my racing thoughts about the evening ahead. The spa appointment Rebecca had booked turned out to be exactly what I needed. A massage, facial, and blowout later, I felt centered and ready. The stylist had done something elegant with my hair, loose waves that looked effortless but polished. Back in my suite, I stood in front of the closet considering my options for the welcome dinner. Dorothy had specified resort elegant in her countless group chat updates, which I knew meant she'd be wearing something expensive and attention-grabbing. I chose a silk midi dress in deep emerald. Simple, sophisticated, clearly high quality but not screaming for attention. My jewelry was minimal. Diamond studs my parents had given me for my college graduation and a delicate Cartier watch. The look said success without trying too hard, which was precisely the point. At 6:30 p.m., I made my way down to the resort's beachfront restaurant where Dorothy had reserved the entire terrace for the welcome dinner. I could hear laughter and music as I approached, the celebration already underway. The hostess checked her list. Name, please? Samantha Clark. Her finger scrolled down the tablet, then paused. I'm sorry, I don't see you on the guest list. That's fine. I'm the bride's sister. There was a misunderstanding about the invitation. She looked uncertain, clearly not wanting to create a scene or turn away family. Let me just check with, it's okay, I said gently. I'll find Dorothy myself. I stepped onto the terrace and the scene before me was exactly what I'd imagined. Tiki torches cast flickering light across white-clothed tables. About 50 guests mingled with drinks, dressed in their vacation best. Dorothy stood near the center predictably, wearing a white rehearsal dress that probably cost more than most people's actual wedding gowns. Marcus was beside her, looking slightly uncomfortable in a linen suit. He was a decent guy from what I remembered, maybe a bit pompous but not cruel like Dorothy had become. I grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and started walking toward them. My mom saw me first. Her eyes went wide and she elbowed my dad, who turned and broke into an immediate grin. Aunt Linda noticed next, her mouth forming a surprised O. Then Cousin Jake, who literally choked on his drink. The ripple of recognition spread through the crowd like a wave. Conversation stuttered and died. Heads turned. Dorothy, still laughing at something one of her bridesmaids had said, sensed the shift in energy. She turned around. Our eyes met across the terrace, and I watched the color drain from her face. She looked at me like I was a ghost, confusion, then shock, then something that might have been anger flickering across her features. I walked straight to her. my heels clicking against the stone pavers, and smiled warmly. Dorothy. Congratulations on the wedding. She stared at me, completely speechless. Marcus looked between us, clearly sensing tension but not understanding its source. Samantha, Dorothy finally managed. What? What are you doing here? I'm here for your wedding. I'm your sister. I kept my voice light, friendly, giving her no ammunition to claim I was being aggressive or confrontational. But you weren't. The group chat? Oh, the one where you said I couldn't afford to come. I took a sip of champagne, letting that hang in the air. Several nearby guests were openly staring now. I figured there was some confusion about my financial situation, so I decided to clear it up in person. Dorothy's face had progressed from pale to flushed. This is my welcome dinner. You can't just crash? I'm not crashing. I'm attending my sister's wedding celebration. Unless you'd like to ask me to leave in front of all your guests? I raised my eyebrows slightly, the challenge implicit. Marcus stepped forward, his hand on Dorothy's arm. Sam, it's good to see you. We're glad you could make it. He shot Dorothy a look that clearly said play along. Thank you, Marcus. Congratulations to you both. I meant it too. Whatever issues I had with Dorothy, Marcus seemed genuinely kind. My mom appeared at my elbow, pulling me into a tight hug. Sweetheart, you look beautiful. When did you get in? Yesterday afternoon. I wanted to get settled before the festivities. Where are you staying? Aunt Linda had joined us now, along with several curious relatives forming a small crowd. The Ritz, presidential suite. Beautiful views. I said it casually, but I watched Dorothy's expression shift. The Ritz-Carlton was the resort where they were hosting the wedding, but it was notably more expensive than the all-inclusive resort where most guests were staying. And the presidential suite? That was the property's crown jewel. Presidential suite? Dorothy's voice had a strange quality to it. Those are like $5,000 a night. $4,500, I corrected gently. But who's counting? It's a special occasion. Jake was grinning ear to ear. How'd you get down here, Sam? I thought you said flights were expensive. He was clearly enjoying this, throwing Dorothy's words back at her. Oh, I flew private. My company keeps a Gulfstream for executive travel. It made sense to use it since I have a business meeting in Miami next week anyway. The silence that followed was deafening. Every single person on that terrace was now paying attention to our conversation. Dorothy looked like she might actually faint. Your company? One of Dorothy's friends asked, confused. I thought you were broke? I supplied helpfully. Yes, Dorothy mentioned something about that in her group text. I think there's been some miscommunication about what I do for a living. Marcus was looking at Dorothy with an expression I couldn't quite read. Honey, I thought you said Samantha worked retail. That's what I thought. Dorothy was stammering now, her carefully constructed narrative crumbling in real time. I run 2 tech companies. Actually, I explained to Marcus and the assembled crowd. I started my first one at 22, a data analytics platform. Sold it 4 years later, used that capital to launch a cybersecurity firm, which is what I'm focused on now. We serve clients across North America. My dad had appeared beside Mom, his arm around her shoulders. He was beaming with pride, even though he'd known all this for years. He'd always respected my decision to keep things private, but I could tell he was enjoying watching me finally set the record straight. Samantha's being modest, Dad said. Her first company was acquired by a Fortune 500 company. She made her first million before she was 27. Dad, I said, genuinely embarrassed. That's not... It's true, though, Mom added. Our daughter is brilliant. Always has been. She just doesn't feel the need to broadcast it. Dorothy looked like she might cry or scream. I couldn't tell which. Her perfect evening, her moment to shine, had been completely hijacked by the sister she'd tried to exclude for being poor. Why didn't you tell me? Dorothy's voice was small, wounded. Why let me think you were struggling? This was the question I'd been waiting for, the one that would require real honesty. Because you never asked, Dorothy. You saw what you wanted to see. The old car, the modest apartment, the lack of designer clothes. You took all of that as evidence that I was failing. It never occurred to you that I might just have different priorities than you do. But in the group chat, you didn't correct me. You let me uninvite you. You uninvited yourself from being a good sister, I interrupted, my voice still calm but firm. You made assumptions and then humiliated me publicly to make yourself feel superior. I'm here because despite all that, you're still my sister and I want to support your marriage. But you need to understand that success isn't about performance. It's not about posting your designer bags or making sure everyone knows how much money you spent on your wedding. The terrace had gone completely silent. Even the ocean waves seemed quieter. Dorothy's eyes were shining with tears. I wanted to prove that I made it. That I was successful too. You were always the smart one, the achiever, and you are successful, Dorothy. You found someone who loves you. You're building a life. That matters. But somewhere along the way, you started measuring success by all the wrong things, and you started treating me like competition instead of family. Marcus put his arm around Dorothy, who was now openly crying. Several of her bridesmaids rushed over with tissues and concern. I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was Uncle Frank, Dorothy's godfather. That took courage, Sam. Well said. Around me, family members were nodding, some looking uncomfortable, others seeming relieved that someone had finally addressed the elephant in the room, Dorothy's increasingly toxic behavior and obsession with status. I finished my champagne and set the glass down. I'm going to head back to my room. Early morning tomorrow. Dorothy, I'll see you at the ceremony. As I turned to leave, my mom hugged me again, whispering, I'm proud of you, baby. Walking back across the terrace, I could hear conversations resuming behind me, urgent. Hushed, probably dissecting every word of what just happened. But I felt lighter somehow, like I'd finally said things that needed saying for years. The truth was out. Dorothy's assumptions were shattered, and tomorrow, at her wedding, we'd see if this confrontation led to understanding or just deeper resentment. Either way, I'd shown up. I'd been honest. And I'd done it without being cruel or vindictive, just truthful. Sometimes that's all you can do. I woke Saturday morning to my phone vibrating across the nightstand. 7 missed calls from Dorothy, 12 text messages, 3 voicemails. For a moment, I considered ignoring them all. Last night had been emotionally exhausting, and part of me wanted to just order room service and hide in my suite until the ceremony. But that wasn't why I'd come here. I opened the texts first. Sam, please call me. I can't sleep. We need to talk. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please. Marcus is furious with me. Everyone is looking at me differently. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about your company. Can we have breakfast? Just us? I know I don't deserve it, but please. I'm your sister. The last message had come through at 6:47 a.m. It was now 8:30. I sat up in bed, looking out at the ocean, trying to decide how I felt. Angry? Yes, still. Hurt? Absolutely. But also tired. Tired of the competition, the resentment, the distance that had grown between us. I called her back. She answered before the first ring finished. Sam, I'm here. Thank you. God, thank you for calling back. Can we meet, please? The coffee shop by the lobby? Or I can come to you, or coffee shop in 30 minutes, I said. Okay. Yes. Thank you. I'll be there. I showered quickly and threw on linen pants and a simple tank top. No armor needed this morning. This wasn't about proving anything anymore. I pulled my hair into a messy bun and headed downstairs. Dorothy was already there, sitting at a corner table away from other guests. She looked terrible. Eyes puffy and red, face bare of makeup, wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt. I'd never seen her look so unpolished, so human. She stood when she saw me. Sam, Sit, I said, not unkindly. Let's talk. We ordered coffee in silence. The morning sun streamed through the windows, casting long shadows across our table. Dorothy's hands were shaking as she wrapped them around her mug. I don't even know where to start, she said finally. How about the truth? When did I become the enemy? She flinched. You were never the enemy. You were always better than me at everything. Smarter, harder working, more focused. Mom and Dad were so proud of you. Every family dinner was about your achievements, your grades, your scholarships. That's not fair, Dorothy. You had your own strengths. You were popular, creative, great with people. None of that mattered. The words burst out of her. Not to Dad. He wanted us both to be like you. Academic, ambitious, career-focused. I felt disappointed every single day. I sat back, genuinely surprised. Dad loves you. He's proud of you. Now maybe. After I met Marcus, after I started playing the part of having my life together. But growing up, I was the pretty one, the social one, the one who wasn't going anywhere. She wiped her eyes with a napkin. When you went to Stanford, do you know what Aunt Linda said to me at your going-away party? I shook my head. She said, well, at least one of you turned out brilliant. Like I was defective. Like I was the failed prototype. My chest tightened. Dorothy, I never knew. Of course you didn't. You were busy being perfect. And I was busy pretending none of it bothered me. She took a shaky breath. Then you started your company, and everyone was talking about it. Samantha's so innovative. Samantha's going places. Samantha's going to be a millionaire by 30. And what was I doing? Working at a boutique and dating guys who went nowhere. But then you met Marcus. Yeah. Marcus with his good job and his nice apartment and his respectable family. Suddenly, I had something tangible to show everyone. I wasn't the disappointing daughter anymore. I was the one getting married, building a traditional life, doing things the right way. And you needed me to be struggling to make that narrative work, I said quietly. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. When I saw your old car and your simple clothes, it was like validation. Proof that all your success didn't translate to real happiness. Maybe I'd chosen the better path after all, and I held on to that because I needed it. So you invented a story where I was broke and struggling. I convinced myself it was true. You never posted on social media about your work. You never dressed fancy or drove expensive cars. You lived so modestly. How was I supposed to know you were running multiple companies? You could have asked me, Dorothy. At any point in the last 5 years, you could have asked about my life instead of assuming. I know. Her voice broke. I know, and I'm so sorry. Last night, when you walked in looking so confident and poised, and then everyone found out about your success. I felt humiliated. Not because you showed me up, but because I realized how badly I'd misjudged everything. How cruel I'd been. The coffee shop was filling up with other guests, tourists chattering about their plans for the day. We sat in our bubble of tension and truth-telling. Marcus barely spoke to me last night after we went back to the room, Dorothy continued. He said he was ashamed of how I'd treated you, that he didn't recognize the person who'd written those texts. We almost called off the wedding. My eyes widened. Dorothy, no. He calmed down eventually, but Sam, he's right. I've become someone I don't like. Someone obsessed with appearances and status and making sure everyone knows I'm doing well. When did that become more important than being a good person? Than being a good sister? I reached across the table and took her hand. You made mistakes, big ones, but you're still my sister. How can you even stand to be around me after what I said? What did I did? Because I remember Dorothy, who helped me pick out my prom dress. Who stayed up with me when I had nightmares after Mom's car accident. Who defended me against Sarah Mitchell in 8th grade when she was spreading rumors. I squeezed her hand. That Dorothy is still in there somewhere. She just got lost. Dorothy covered her face with her free hand, sobbing. Around us, a few guests glanced over with concern, but I ignored them. This moment wasn't for anyone else. I want to be better, she said when she could speak again. I want to fix this. Fix us. Then we start now. Today. No more competition. No more assumptions. We talk to each other honestly about real things. Deal? Deal. She wiped her face, managing a watery smile. I don't deserve you. Probably not, I said with a slight grin. But you're stuck with me anyway. She laughed, a genuine laugh that sounded like the sister I remembered from childhood. Will you still come to the ceremony? Be there for me? Of course. That's why I came. Not to prove me wrong? I considered that. Maybe a little, but mostly because despite everything, I love you. And I wanted you to see that success comes in different forms. That quiet wealth is still wealth. That you don't have to perform your life for it to be valuable. I'm starting to understand that. She glanced at her phone. I should go get ready. Hair and makeup starts in an hour. But Sam? Thank you. For showing up. For being honest. For not giving up on me. We stood, and she pulled me into a tight hug. She smelled like the coconut shampoo she'd used since high school. And for a moment, we were just sisters again. No competition, no resentment, just connection. Your wedding is going to be beautiful, I said as we pulled apart. Will you sit with the family? Up front? Where else would I sit? She smiled, really smiled, and headed toward the elevators. I watched her go, feeling something shift in my chest. The anger had dulled to disappointment, and the disappointment was giving way to cautious hope. Maybe this was what we'd both needed, a crisis to force honesty. A confrontation to clear the air. Sometimes you have to break things completely before you can rebuild them properly. I headed back to my suite to get ready for the ceremony. Whatever happened next, at least we'd been honest with each other. At least we'd started the work of repairing what had been broken, and maybe, just maybe, Dorothy would come out of this wedding not just as Marcus's wife, but as someone who finally understood what truly mattered. The ceremony was at 4 p.m. on the beach. I had time to decompress, do some work, and prepare myself for whatever the rest of this day would bring. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. Status update? Had breakfast with Dorothy. She apologized. We're working on it. Boring. I wanted drama. Sorry to disappoint. Real life isn't always explosive. Fine. But I still want pictures of the private jet. I laughed and set my phone aside. Outside my window, the Caribbean sparkled under the midday sun. Somewhere on this resort, Dorothy was getting ready to marry someone who loved her. Our family was gathered to celebrate, and for the first time in years, I felt like maybe we could all move forward together. By 3 o'clock, I was dressed and ready. I'd chosen a floor-length gown in champagne silk, elegant without competing with the bride, sophisticated without being flashy. My hair was swept into a low chignon, and I kept my makeup natural to suit the beach setting. The ceremony site was a 10-minute walk along the resort's private beach. White chairs were arranged in rows facing an arch draped in white orchids and flowing fabric. The Caribbean stretched endlessly behind it, turquoise water meeting cloudless sky. Dorothy had excellent taste when it came to aesthetics. I'd give her that. Guests were already arriving, women in flowing dresses and men in linen suits, everyone dressed in tropical elegance. I spotted my parents near the front, saving seats. Mom waved enthusiastically when she saw me. Sweetheart, you look stunning, she said, kissing my cheek as I joined them. Agreed, Dad added, pulling me into a side hug. How are you feeling about all this? Good, actually. Dorothy and I talked this morning. Really talk? Mom's eyes lit up. You did? She apologized. We cleared the air. It's not completely fixed, but it's a start. That's all we can ask for, Dad said, squeezing my shoulder. I'm glad you came, Sam. Took guts. Uncle Frank settled into the row behind us, leaning forward. Sam, you caused quite the stir last night. Haven't seen a family drama that good since your aunt's third divorce. Frank! My mom swatted his arm, but she was smiling. What? I'm just saying the girl's got style. Shows up in designer clothes, drops the millionaire bombshell, and leaves everyone speechless. That's how you make an entrance. I laughed despite myself. That wasn't the goal. Maybe not, but it was effective. Dorothy needed that wake-up call. She's been insufferable for months with all her wedding superiority. Aunt Linda joined us, overhearing. She has been a bit much lately, she admitted. But I think last night humbled her. She called me this morning crying, talking about how she'd misjudged everything. She's young, Mom said diplomatically. She's learning. She's 34, Uncle Frank countered. At some point, you gotta figure this stuff out. A string quartet began playing, signaling the ceremony was about to start. Conversations hushed as guests settled into their seats. The officiant, a woman in flowing white robes, took her position under the arch. Marcus appeared first, walking down the aisle with his parents. He looked nervous but happy, his eyes scanning the crowd until they found me. He nodded slightly and I nodded back. Whatever had happened between him and Dorothy last night, they'd clearly worked through it. The groomsmen followed, then the bridesmaids in their pale blue dresses. I recognized a few of them from family events: Dorothy's college roommate, her best friend from high school, Marcus's sister. Then the music shifted to the bridal processional. Dorothy appeared at the end of the aisle with our dad. Even from this distance, I could see her hands trembling slightly as she clutched her bouquet. The dress was gorgeous. Fitted lace bodice, flowing tulle skirt, delicate beading catching the late afternoon sun. She looked like a princess, which I knew had been her dream since we were kids. But it was her face that caught my attention. No practice smile, no performance for the guests. She looked genuinely nervous, vulnerable, real. Her eyes found mine as she passed our row, and I saw them glisten with fresh tears. I smiled at her, warm and genuine, and mouthed, "You look beautiful," she smiled back, a tremulous thing, and kept walking toward Marcus, who was watching her with such obvious love that even I felt emotional. Dad kissed her cheek and placed her hand in Marcus's before taking his seat next to Mom, who was already crying softly. The officiant began. "We gather here today on this beautiful beach, surrounded by the people who love Dorothy and Marcus most, to witness the joining of two lives, two families, two hearts." I found myself actually listening, which was rare for wedding ceremonies. Usually my mind wandered to work problems or logistics, but something about this moment felt important, not just for Dorothy, but for all of us. "Dorothy and Marcus have written their own vows," the officiant continued. "Marcus, would you like to begin?" Marcus took both of Dorothy's hands, steadying her slight shaking. "Dorothy, when I met you 3 years ago, I thought I was just meeting a beautiful woman at a coffee shop. I had no idea I was meeting my future wife, my best friend, my partner, and everything. You challenge me to be better. You make me laugh when I take life too seriously. You've taught me that love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other every single day, even when things are hard." Dorothy was crying openly now, mascara-proof makeup doing its job. "I promise to support your dreams, even when they're different from mine. I promise to be honest with you, even when the truth is uncomfortable. I promise to remind you of what's truly important when you get lost in the noise. And I promise to love you, not the version of you that you think you should be, but exactly who you are right now, always." That last line hit differently given everything that had happened. I wondered if Marcus had added it this morning, a gentle reminder to Dorothy about authenticity. Dorothy took a shaky breath before starting her vows. "Marcus, I've spent a lot of my life trying to be someone I thought I should be, trying to prove something to people who didn't need convincing, trying to measure up to standards that didn't matter." Her voice cracked. "But with you, I can just be. You see me, really see me, and you love me anyway." Several guests were crying now, including Aunt Linda and even Uncle Frank, who was pretending to have something in his eye. "These past few days have taught me something important," Dorothy continued, her eyes briefly finding mine again. "That real love, real success, real happiness, it's not about what other people think. It's not about performing or proving. It's about surrounding yourself with people who matter and being brave enough to be vulnerable with them." I felt tears prick my own eyes. This was Dorothy speaking from her heart, letting the facade crack completely. "I promise to be honest with you about my fears and insecurities instead of hiding them behind pretense. I promise to measure our success by the love we share, not by what we can show the world. I promise to be the kind of partner who builds you up instead of needing to prove something. And I promise to love you with everything I have, for all the days we're given." Marcus was crying too now, not bothering to hide it. The officiant had to pause, giving them both a moment to compose themselves. "By the power vested in me by the state of Quintana Roo and the love that surrounds us, I now pronounce you husband and wife." "Marcus, you may kiss your bride," he did, dipping her dramatically as guests erupted in applause and cheers. When they broke apart, both laughing and crying, the quartet launched into a joyful recessional. As they walked back down the aisle together, Dorothy paused at our row. She reached out and squeezed my hand quickly, mouthing, "Thank you," before Marcus gently pulled her along. Mom grabbed both my hand and Dad's. "My girls," she whispered. Finally. The reception was set up in the resort's grand ballroom. More white orchids, crystal chandeliers, tables draped in ivory linens. Everything was elegant and expensive, exactly what Dorothy had envisioned. But something had shifted. As I watched her greet guests, I noticed she seemed lighter somehow. Less performed. When someone complimented her dress, she thanked them without launching into a story about the designer or the cost. When Marcus's aunt asked about their honeymoon plans, she just said, "We're going somewhere quiet. Just the two of us," without needing to name-drop exotic locations. During cocktail hour, several family members approached me with curiosity and apology. Cousin Jake. "Sam, I had no idea about your companies." "That's incredible, Aunt Linda. Your parents must be so proud. Why haven't we heard about this before?" Uncle Frank. "You accepting investors?" "Because I've got some money burning a hole in my pocket," I answered politely, deflecting where necessary. This was Dorothy's day, not a networking opportunity for me. Dinner was served: grilled fish, tropical salads, elegant plating. I found myself seated at the family table with my parents, Uncle Frank, Aunt Linda, and a few cousins. Dorothy had rearranged the seating chart this morning, my mom mentioned. Previously, I hadn't been included in the family table at all. During toasts, Marcus's best man told funny stories about their college days. The maid of honor shared memories of Dorothy's romantic disasters before meeting Marcus. Everyone laughed, including Dorothy, who seemed genuinely relaxed for the first time all weekend. Then Marcus stood with his champagne glass. "I want to add something to these wonderful toasts. Dorothy, I fell in love with you because of your spirit, your warmth, your ability to light up a room. But this weekend, I've fallen even more in love with your courage, your willingness to look at yourself honestly and make changes, your commitment to being authentic instead of perfect. That's real strength, and I'm honored to spend my life with someone brave enough to grow." He raised his glass to Dorothy, who was crying again, happy tears this time. The room erupted in applause. As the DJ started playing and guests moved to the dance floor, Dorothy found me near the windows overlooking the ocean. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey yourself. Beautiful ceremony. Those vows were incredible. I meant every word." She paused. "Sam, I know one apology doesn't fix everything. I know I have a lot of work to do to rebuild your trust and to become the kind of person who deserves a sister like you. We both have work to do. Relationships go both ways. Still, thank you for coming, for being honest with me, for not giving up on me even when I deserved it," she smiled, "and for showing up in style. That entrance will be a family legend forever." I laughed. "Not my intention, but I'll take it. Dance with me? Sister dance?" I followed her to the dance floor as a slower song began. We swayed together, and for a moment, we were kids again. Before the competition, before the insecurity, before everything got complicated. "I love you, Sam," Dorothy said quietly. "I'm going to do better. I promise. I love you too. And I believe you." The night continued with dancing, cake cutting, and celebration. But that moment on the dance floor, that was what I'd really come for. Not to prove a point or show off my success, but to reconnect with my sister and remind us both what actually mattered. Money, jets, designer clothes, expensive weddings. None of it meant anything compared to this. Sunday morning brought a different kind of clarity. The wedding was over, the guests were nursing hangovers, and reality was starting to settle back in. I had my Miami meeting on Monday, which meant flying out this afternoon. I was packing when someone knocked on my suite door. Through the peephole, I saw Dorothy standing there in casual clothes, hair in a ponytail, looking exhausted but peaceful. "Come in," I said, opening the door. She stepped inside, eyes widening as she took in the presidential suite for the first time. Wow. It's nice, right? The terrace is the best part. I gestured toward the outdoor space where breakfast had been delivered earlier. She walked out onto it, leaning against the railing and looking at the ocean. Sam, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you really come? And don't say just because I'm your sister. You could have stayed home, sent a gift, and never spoken to me again. I would have deserved that. I joined her at the railing, considering the question. Honestly, part of me wanted to prove you wrong, to show you that your assumptions were way off. But the bigger part just missed you. I missed having a sister I could talk to without feeling like I was being judged or competed against. When did that start? The competing thing? I think it was always there, but it got worse after college. Every family gathering became a comparison game. Who was doing better? Who had accomplished more? Who was living the better life? I hated it. Dorothy was quiet for a moment. I think I started it. The competing. Because I was so insecure about not being the smart one, not being the successful one. Marcus pointed that out last night. He said I spent more energy trying to make you look small than actually building my own life. That must have been hard to hear. It was. But he wasn't wrong. She turned to face me. I've been thinking about what you said, about success not being a performance. And I realized I don't even know what I want anymore. I've been so busy trying to look successful that I forgot to figure out what success actually means to me. This was deeper than I'd expected. What do you think it means? I don't know yet. But I know it's not about designer bags or expensive weddings or making sure everyone knows how well I'm doing. She smiled sadly. Those vows I said yesterday? I meant them. I want to be more authentic, but I don't actually know who the authentic Dorothy is. I've been performing for so long. Then maybe that's where you start. Figure out who you are when nobody's watching. What makes you happy when there's no audience to impress? That's terrifying. Yeah, but also kind of exciting, right? You get to discover yourself all over again. She nodded slowly. Marcus wants me to quit the boutique. He says I only took that job because it sounded impressive to say I worked in fashion. And he's right, I hate it. I hate the hours, the catty coworkers, the pretentious customers. But I kept doing it because it fit the image I wanted. What would you do if you could do anything? I used to love photography. Back in high school, remember? I won that contest, had my picture in the paper. But Dad said there was no money in art, so I never pursued it. I did remember. Dorothy had been talented, capturing moments and emotions in ways that surprised everyone. You could pursue it now. Take classes, build a portfolio, see where it leads. At 34? Starting over? Why not? I started my first company at 22. You think that wasn't terrifying? I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to build something meaningful. Dorothy leaned her head on my shoulder. How did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I just figured out early that chasing external validation was exhausting. It's easier to build a life you actually like than to build a life that looks good in photos. Can I ask you something else? Shoot. Do you ever get scared? Like, what if you fail? What if your company tank? What if you lose everything? All the time, I admitted. Fear doesn't go away just because you're successful. You just learn to do things anyway. That's what Marcus said about marriage. That being scared is normal, but you do it anyway because the person is worth it. Smart guy. Yeah, she smiled. I really lucked out with him. He could have walked away yesterday when he realized how shallow I'd been. But instead, he challenged me to be better. My phone buzzed with a reminder about my flight. 3 hours until departure. I have to finish packing, I said reluctantly. My meeting in Miami is early tomorrow. Right, of course. Dorothy straightened. Sam, before you go, can we make a promise? To actually stay in touch? Like real conversations, not just surface-level family updates. I'd like that. And maybe I could visit Seattle sometime? See your office, meet your team, actually understand what you do. Anytime. Seriously. I've always wanted to share that part of my life with you, but it never seemed like you were interested. I wasn't. I was too busy being threatened by your success to celebrate it. She hugged me tightly. I'm going to do better. Starting now. After Dorothy left, I finished packing and took one last look at the suite. This weekend had been a roller coaster. Dramatic entrance, painful confrontations, honest conversations, and ultimately, reconciliation. Not the way I'd imagined it would go, but maybe better. The Rolls-Royce was waiting when I came downstairs. Carlos loaded my luggage efficiently. Back to the airport, Ms. Clark. Yes, please. As we drove through Cancun, I reflected on everything that had happened. Dorothy wasn't magically fixed. Healing and growth take time. But she'd taken the first step by acknowledging the problem and wanting to change. That was more than I'd hoped for. My phone rang. Tyler. So? How'd it end? Better than expected, actually. Dorothy and I talked things out. She apologized, I forgave her, and we're going to work on rebuilding our relationship. Boring. I wanted drama. You already said that, because you keep disappointing me with your mature conflict resolution. I laughed. Sorry, my real life isn't entertaining enough for you. Fine. But the private jet thing was cool, right? Tell me people were impressed. People were surprised. Good enough. See you when you're back from Miami? Dinner next week. My treat. Obviously your treat. You're a millionaire. After we hung up, I looked out the window at the passing scenery. Cancun was beautiful. Turquoise water, palm trees, endless sunshine. But I was ready to get back to work, back to the life I'd built, back to what mattered. At the FBO, Captain Morrison greeted me with his usual professionalism. Ms. Clark, welcome back. Ready for Miami? Absolutely. Let's go. The jet's interior felt familiar and comfortable. I settled into my seat, opened my laptop, and pulled up the presentation for tomorrow's client meeting. This was what I loved. Solving problems, building solutions, creating value. Not the money itself, though that was nice. The work, the purpose, the impact. As we climbed to cruising altitude, I thought about Dorothy's question. Why had I really come to the wedding? The truth was complicated. Yes, I wanted to prove her wrong. Yes, I wanted her to understand that she'd misjudged me. But more than that, I wanted to save our relationship before it was too late. I wanted to believe that a family could overcome resentment and competition and find their way back to each other, and maybe, just maybe, we had. My phone buzzed with a text. Dorothy. Safe flight. Thank you for everything. Love you, sis. I smiled and typed back. Love you too. Talk soon. Another text came through, this time from Mom. Whatever you said to your sister, thank you. She called me this morning and actually had a real conversation. First time in years. You're a good egg, Samantha. We both are, Mom. We just needed to remember that. As Mexico disappeared below us and we headed toward Florida, I felt lighter than I had in years. The weight of Dorothy's resentment, my own hurt feelings, the family tension, all of it had been acknowledged and, if not fully resolved, at least addressed honestly. Success wasn't about the private jet or the presidential suite or the thriving companies. Those were just tools, resources, and the results of hard work. Real success was this: having the courage to show up, speak the truth, and fight for relationships that mattered. Dorothy had a long journey ahead of her, figuring out who she really was, what she actually wanted, how to build an authentic life instead of a performed one. But she was finally on that path, and I'd be there to support her, the way sisters should. I closed my laptop and looked out the window at the clouds below. Tomorrow, I'd pitch a major client. Next week, I'd be back in Seattle managing 2 companies. Next month, maybe Dorothy would visit and we'd actually talk about real things. The future felt open in a way it hadn't before. Full of possibility, full of hope. And for the first time in a long time, when I thought about my sister, I felt pride instead of frustration. Because she'd done the hardest thing possible. She'd looked at herself honestly and decided to change. That took courage. Real courage. The kind that couldn't be bought or performed or faked. Maybe we'd both learned something this weekend. Me about grace and forgiveness. Her authenticity and priorities. Either way, we were moving forward, together, the way it should have been all along. Miami appeared on the horizon, glittering skyline, endless ocean, new challenges waiting. I was ready for all of it, but first, I'd enjoy this moment of peace, flying above the world, grateful for the family who challenged us, and for the strength to challenge them back. Sometimes the best journeys aren't about the destination. They're about finding your way home. The coffee shop in downtown Seattle was buzzing with the usual morning rush. Baristas calling out orders, laptops clicking, the hiss of steam wands creating a comfortable backdrop of productivity. I'd claimed my favorite corner table, the one with the good natural light and a view of Pike Street. My phone lit up with an incoming video call. Dorothy's name flashed across the screen. "Hey!" I answered, angling the phone so she could see me. "Sam." "Oh good, you're not in a meeting." "Do you have a minute?" "For you? Always." "What's up?" She flipped the camera around, showing me what looked like a small art gallery. White walls, track lighting, framed photographs hung at precise intervals. "I wanted you to see this before I post about it." My first official showing. I sat up straighter, excitement flooding through me. "Dorothy, this is incredible." "When did this happen?" The gallery owner reached out last week after seeing my portfolio online. She wants to feature my work in their Emerging Artists series next month. Dorothy's voice was breathless with excitement, the kind of genuine enthusiasm I hadn't heard from her in years. "It's small, just one wall, only a dozen prints. But it's real. It's actually happening. I'm so proud of you. Show me the photos." She walked slowly through the space, camera focused on each image. They were stunning, candid shots of everyday moments captured with emotional depth. A child's hand in an elderly person's palm. Rain droplets on a window with blurred city lights beyond. A couple laughing on a park bench, caught mid-moment. "These are beautiful, Dorothy. You have such a gift for capturing emotion. You think so?" I'm terrified. "What if nobody comes? What if they hate them? What if they love them?" I interrupted. "What if this is the beginning of something amazing?" "You can't know until you try." She laughed, turning the camera back to her face. "When did you become my therapist?" "When you became brave enough to actually pursue your dreams." "Seriously, Dorothy, this is huge. I'm buying one of these prints. You don't have to." "I want to. The one with the hands. That one speaks to me." Her eyes got misty. "That was actually inspired by watching you and Dad at the wedding. The way he took your hand during the ceremony. I never noticed how much love can exist in simple gestures until I started really paying attention." Something warm settled in my chest. 6 months ago, Dorothy and I could barely have a civil conversation. Now she was creating art inspired by family moments and sharing her vulnerable creative journey with me. "How's Marcus handling all this?" I asked. "He's been amazing. So supportive. He actually built me a darkroom in our spare bedroom for when I want to work with film. Says watching me discover my passion has made him fall in love all over again." She smiled, soft and genuine. "I quit the boutique, by the way. Finally." "How does that feel?" "Terrifying and liberating at the same time. I'm doing freelance photography to pay bills while I build my portfolio. It's not glamorous, mostly family portraits and small events, but I love it. I actually wake up excited about work instead of dreading it. That's what matters." "Speaking of work, how's the Miami expansion going?" I'd been waiting for her to ask. Dorothy had started actually inquiring about my business over the past few months, genuine curiosity replacing competitive jealousy. "Really well. We signed 3 new contracts last month. The cybersecurity market is exploding, and we're positioned perfectly to capture it." "That's amazing. Hey, random question. Do you need corporate photography? Like headshots, office culture photos, that kind of thing?" "Are you pitching me?" "Maybe. Is that weird?" "I don't want you to hire me just because I'm your sister. I'd hire you because you're talented. Send me your portfolio and rates. We're actually updating our website next quarter and could use fresh imagery." "Really? You're not just saying that?" "Dorothy, look at those photos behind you. You're legit. I wouldn't have offered it if I didn't mean it." Her smile could have lit up the entire gallery. "Thank you. For believing in me. For not giving up on me after how awful I was. We're past that now. Moving forward, remember?" "Moving forward," she echoed. "Hey, are you still coming for Thanksgiving?" Mom's been asking. Wouldn't miss it. I'm actually bringing Tyler this year. You'll finally get to meet him. The best friend who wanted drama at my wedding? That's the one. He's dying to see how normal and functional we've become. Keep saying we ruined his entertainment. Dorothy laughed. Tell him I'll try to create some chaos for his amusement. Please don't. I enjoy the peace. A customer bumped my table, apologizing profusely as my coffee sloshed slightly. The coffee shop was getting more crowded, the lunch rush beginning. "I should let you go," Dorothy said. "But Sam? Thank you. For showing up in Cancun. For being honest with me. For giving me the wake-up call I needed. My life is completely different now. And it's because you cared enough to show me the truth. You did the hard part. You changed. That was all you. We both did the hard part. Anyway, I love you. Talk later? Love you too. And Dorothy? That showing is going to be incredible. Trust yourself." After she hung up, I sat back in my chair, watching Seattle bustle past the window. 6 months ago, I'd been preparing to confront my sister at her destination wedding. Now she was pursuing her passion. We talked weekly, and our relationship had never been stronger. My business partner, Rebecca, slid into the seat across from me. "Was that Dorothy? How's the photography going?" "She got her first gallery showing." "That's fantastic. You must be proud." "I am. It's like watching her become the person she was always meant to be." Rebecca pulled out her laptop. "Speaking of becoming who we're meant to be, the board approved the scholarship program you proposed. This was something I'd been working on for months. A scholarship fund for women in tech from low-income backgrounds. $50,000 annually to support college students pursuing computer science degrees. They approved the full amount? Every penny. First scholarships will be awarded next semester. You're changing lives, Sam. That's the goal." My phone buzzed again. This time it was a group text from my mom to the family thread, the same one where Dorothy had uninvited me 6 months ago. Family photo time. "Everyone send me your favorite picture from this year, making a collage for the holiday card." Responses started flowing in. Cousin Jake sent a fishing trip photo. Aunt Linda shared a picture from her garden. Uncle Frank posted a selfie with his new motorcycle. Then Dorothy sent one, a photo from her wedding day, the moment on the dance floor when she and I had reconciled. We were hugging, both of us crying, smiling, finally looking like sisters again. My favorite moment of the year, maybe of my life. Love you, Sam. Love you too. And I'm stealing that print for my office, my girls. Finally back where you belong. I looked at that photo for a long moment. 6 months ago, I'd been hurt, angry, determined to prove Dorothy wrong. I'd flown to Cancun on a private jet with designer clothes and a chip on my shoulder, ready for confrontation. But somewhere between the dramatic entrance and the honest conversations, something shifted. It stopped being about proving anything and started being about healing everything. Dorothy learned that success without authenticity is just performance. I learned that being right isn't as important as being compassionate. We both learned that family is worth fighting for, even when, especially when, it's hard. "Earth to Sam," Rebecca said, waving a hand in front of my face. "Sorry, just thinking." About? About how sometimes the things that break us apart are exactly what we need to come back together stronger. Deep. "Is this about your sister?" "Yeah. 6 months ago, I thought our relationship was beyond repair. Turns out we just needed to have some brutally honest conversations and remember what actually matters. Which is? Connection, authenticity, being brave enough to be vulnerable with the people we love." I closed my laptop. Money, success, status, that stuff is fine. It's useful. But it means nothing if you're performing your life instead of living it. Sounds like Dorothy taught you something too. She did. She taught me that grace and forgiveness can transform relationships, that people can change when they're ready. That showing up, really showing up, is sometimes the most powerful thing you can do. Rebecca smiled. "Look at you getting all philosophical." "Weddings do that to people. Speaking of which, when's yours?" "Tyler keeps asking if he needs to buy a suit," I laughed. "Tell Tyler he's safe for now. I'm married to my work, remember?" "For now," Rebecca said knowingly. "But something tells me you're learning that balance thing." Slowly but surely, maybe she was right. The weekend in Cancun had reminded me that life existed beyond quarterly reports and client meetings. That relationship required investment and attention. That success was hollow without people to share it with. My phone buzzed one more time. Dorothy again. P.S. I started therapy. Working through some of the insecurity stuff. It's hard but good. Thought you should know. Proud of you. That takes courage. I learned from the best. You showed up to my wedding after I humiliated you. If that's not courage, I don't know what is. We're both courageous. And we're both works in progress. That's what makes us human. When did you get so wise? When I got a sister brave enough to change. You inspired me too, you know. I put my phone away and looked out at Seattle. My city, my home, my life. In a few hours, I'd be back in the office, managing teams and solving problems. Next week, I'd fly to San Francisco for investor meetings. Next month, who knows? But tonight, I'd call Dorothy just to chat. Maybe share a glass of wine over video call and laugh about something ridiculous. Build the relationship we should have had all along. The private jet, the presidential suite, the dramatic entrance. That was one way to make a statement. But the real statement was showing up consistently afterward. Answering the phone. Being present. Choosing connection over competition. Dorothy had been right about one thing at her wedding. Real success wasn't about what other people saw. It was about who you became when nobody was watching. The choices you made. The relationships you nurtured. The courage to grow, and maybe, just maybe, both of us were finally figuring that out. 6 months ago, I went to Cancun to prove a point. I left having rediscovered a sister. Best investment I ever made. Looking for more? We've got 2 amazing stories ready for you right on screen. If this one touched you, these are absolutely worth your time. Click to watch them now. And hey, subscribe and hit that bell to never miss our latest uploads.